Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Star Wars Alliance. Of course, I'm your host Clay, and with me, like always, is Katie. Katie, how you doing?
It could be better, but it's fine. It is what it is. We're gonna talk about Star Wars. I got my Night Sisters podcast shirt on right now. It has the when you face one Night Sister, you face us all.
That is pretty dope. I like that shirt. Um, I was gonna wear a Star Wars shirt, and then I totally forgot, and I was just like, "Do I really want to change just for the podcast?" Yeah, no, I'm not getting out of this chair. So we have a little bit of a shorter episode for you guys. Not much has come out since our last episode to really talk about news wise. But before we get into any and all of that, of course, we have to do the GUA plugs. So, of course, Star Wars Alliance is a part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. And what that means is we are just a big podcast family. We are on a schedule Sunday through Saturday, sorry, 7 days a week, 8 shows on a weekly, bi weekly, and monthly schedule. Of course, those shows being Slice of Film, Ranger Alliance, Superhero Discussions, Star Wars Alliance. Wait, did I say DC Alliance? I didn't. Sorry. But rewind, start over.
Sorry, Clay.
Slice of Film, Ranger Alliance, DC Alliance, Superhero Discussions, Star Wars Alliance, Marvel Alliance, A Walk Through the Multiverse, and of course, World's Finest True Believers. Now, one thing of an important note here, if you haven't been on Twitter lately, everybody from the GUA, along with the show Twitter accounts, have shared the GUA survey that we have been giving out. So you can find it on any and all of the host or show tweets. But if you go to GUA Pod Network on Twitter,
Except Slice of Film, because I have failed miserably and still haven't got back into the account at all. I'm sorry. It is what it is.
not a problem. But if you go into the GUA Twitter account or even in our show notes right here when you are listening via podcast, you will have a survey, and we as hosts want to give everybody the best listening experience possible. So it's just a few questions, maybe 5 minutes max, unless you go into great detail on some of the things that you like or dislike about the show. We would just love your feedback. So make sure to do that either right now or after the show. Um, Now, the DC, Star Wars, and Marvel all go live on the Geekverse YouTube channel. If you would like to go subscribe to that, make sure the notification is on all so you know exactly when any and all shows go live. Uh, this is a listener support network as well as an ad support network. So you will get ads in this episode. Either myself or Katie will give you the heads up for those ads. We don't choose the ads. We don't choose how many times they repeat themselves if they do. And we don't choose the volume. So make sure when we give you the warning to turn down your volume just a tad. So that way we don't accidentally destroy any eardrums. Of course, if you don't want to listen to those ads, you can always join us right here on the Geekverse YouTube channel on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But of course, if you can't join us here, you can always go to the Patreon. $1 just says thank you to us for all of our hard work. And then, of course, the $5 tier gives you the exclusive content as well as the ad free early episodes. So, Katie, I know that you and Matt have been doing this House of Dragon thing on the regular feed, but I know that has have you pushed him into doing the comics yet? Is Comic Conversations episode 3 coming out anytime soon?
It may happen, but it may not be following the timeline. I am trying to convince him to read War of the Bounty Hunters and Crimson Dawn because we just got done with Solo and he was like, this is so good. And I was like, well, you would be happy to know that her story continues in these comics. So
I was
we'll see
just
what
about
happens.
I was just about to make that comment when we get to the solo review. I fell off of the Crimson Dawn comic, but I do want to go back and read it in its entirety. Um, so that's going to be very fun going back to ever since, watching this again. It's going to be fun to have that kind of in the back burner. Um,
You
but
know, Crimson. Sorry, just real quick. Crimson Dawn was not as good as War of the Bounty Hunters, but I think it gives you the needed background to get you to Hidden Empire, where the big story thing is going to happen. Because obviously we don't know what's happened to Kira between War of the Bounty Hunters and Solo, and so that kind of gives you a little more inclination as to what's happened to her and why she's on this journey that she's
yeah,
on. So just for those who are curious, like I think that would be my general review. War of the Bounty Hunters is better, but I really like the amount of information that Soul puts in to Crimson Dawn. So
yeah, for sure. But of course, there is always the other shows on our Patreon, such as Chris and Brent doing We Can Watch This All Day, doing the MCU rewatch. There is Travis's Top 5 Fridays. Joe has the Multiverse Minutes. I have, for the first time, Game of Thrones, and I have been all over the place in my personal life, so I haven't been able to drop that episode 7 on season 1 of Game of Thrones. But I'm really wanting to finish that season. That season has been so good, and I know that Katie has agreed to jump on that season finale for season 1, so I can kind of talk to her about her first experience when it happened and everything else. Is going to be very, very fun to get into all of that. But of course, through all of that, we greatly appreciate it if you are on our Patreon, if you are supporting us, and if you are not, we highly recommend it because we all work really, really hard to do all of that
and I
stuff.
will have I know I keep saying it, y'all. Legendary Conversations episode 3 will be uploaded this weekend. Clay has had it edited for me, and I've still not put it up there. So it's completely and utterly my fault, and I will make it happen at some point, aka this weekend. I promise. Because I do have that episode. It's just not there.
All right, well, let's go ahead and jump into the very minimal news that we have, which is literally just one topic. Katie, you shared this into our Star Wars Alliance chat that we have. Uh, I feel like I should be familiar with this name, and I'm just not. Delilah Dawson just said that she is writing a new Star Wars book. What is this? Like who is this? Do I know who this person is? Should I know who this person is?
So Delilah Dawson has written for the IDW comics. Oh my gosh, I just realized my mic is all the way down here. I never put it up there. Oops. Um, so Delilah S. Dawson has written for the IDW comics. She has written Phasma. She has written the is it Black Spire? Yeah, Black Spire. She wrote the Black Spire novel. So those are kind of like a duology because it picks up on the main character's story from Phasma. Well, main character, the person telling Phasma's story um is who Black Spire is about. So she's written on those, and Phasma is probably one of my top novels for canon. Just the way she develops Phasma so well. Highly recommend if y'all haven't checked that out to do so. Especially considering uh like how little we got of her in the sequel trilogy, I feel like. Um and then she's also written short stories um in the From a Certain Point of View books. So she wrote, I can't remember which one she wrote in the A New Hope From a Certain Point of View, but in From a Certain Point of View Strikes Back, she wrote the one about the tauntaun
Okay.
that Han cuts open. Oh my gosh, I sobbed during that story. I absolutely sobbed. It just like if you have not checked out the From a Certain Point of View books, I can't recommend those enough. Like just the way they delve into the average person of Star Wars, the average creature of Star Wars, it's really phenomenal. So
Okay. Okay. I still need to get from the certain point of view books. I know that you've highly recommended them for a while now. And actually, in 1 week, I have. Well, see, I can't do that because in 1 week, I think I am going to be pre-ordering our first phase 2 book with uh with the High
Yes, because
Republic.
that comes out at the beginning of the month, October 4th.
Yes, and I
So
won't
currently,
have.
y'all, we do not.
Oh, go
Sorry.
ahead. We
I
don't
was
have
just
what?
gonna say currently we don't have an arc for that as of yet. I've reached out to try and see um and I'm waiting to see if it pops up on NetGalley. So we may be a little bit behind the curve on that one, y'all. Just to keep y'all updated. But that is coming out October 4th. Path of Deceit, written by Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland.
Yes.
Not Kevin Scott.
No, I my credit for Audible doesn't come in until the middle of the month. So, I want to go ahead and try to pre-order as quickly as possible so that way I won't have to worry about it, and when it comes in or when it's available, I'll have it right then and there. So, I'm looking forward to it. So that was really it for our new segment,
um
right? Or do you have something
yeah,
else?
because we had the Rosario Dawson comment on the status of the Ahsoka series. She's
Yes.
basically like, "Yeah, we're still filming it. It's going great." That was it there. Oh, um, presumably this will be announced this weekend at D23, so it's kind of like a prediction. Um, but Jodie Turner Smith is poised to join Disney Plus's The Acolytes.
Oh, that's right. I
Um,
completely forgot about this. Yeah.
yeah, so that was an announcement. Oh, the Drat. Getting ahead of myself. My brain is not working today, y'all. So excuse me. The Delilah S. Dawson news was from a Dragon Con panel, and it has not been like Clay said. It hasn't been confirmed anywhere else really. Um, but Tom from Del Rey did kind of go, "Oh, that's interesting." And that makes me go, "Oh, did Delilah say something she wasn't supposed to say?" So there's that. So yeah, the Jodie Turner Smith news is really the only other thing. If y'all are interested in this kind of thing, Dragon Con's Star Wars trivia is one of the most renowned Star Wars trivias in the United States, and they obviously Dragon Con was this past weekend. So Star Wars Explained reclaimed his title as number one, which I don't even blame him. Like that makes complete and total sense. But if you look up on Twitter, SW at DC, so Star Wars at DC, or Star Wars at Dragon Con, they have tweeted the link to the qualifying test for the trivia. And this average for this test, and this isn't really news, but I wanted to talk about it. The average for this test is typically 19. Last year's average was 19 out of 50. And before this year, I have never made above a 10 out of 50 on this test.
Wow.
Yes, some of the like, and you can look at the quote tweets on there's 126 of the look at the replies, look at like the quote tweets, and you see anything from about 11 to I think the best I saw was a 48. Um, so wide range of scores. I think Matt got a 16 out of 50 on this one, which I was highly impressed by that because he even got like some of the High Republic questions right. Um, and
Ooh,
then
I'm gonna
I
have
got a
to
26
try.
out of 50,
I'm
which
gonna
was a
have to
great
try.
improvement. I'm thinking, I'm thinking I want to eventually, I'm going to save the link and I'm going to have you do it like live one day and you're just going to get super frustrated. It's going to be super fun
I
because
would be
I
down for
was
that. I
sitting
would
there.
totally down for that.
I like it probably took me 45 minutes to take this test. And it's multiple choice. Like it gives you like so you don't have to fill in anything. You just have to know the information. Um so yeah. But I think this one was actually pretty easy. Like previous years have been super difficult. Um so
All right.
yeah, if anyone's interested in that, it's available on Twitter. It's just a like a Google poll. So,
Yeah.
but it's lots of fun. I enjoy seeing how I rank compared to everybody else on the internet.
Now, our next news topic, not really news, but predictions. You already kind of went into that. D23 is this weekend. So we are going to join the Geekverse guys on the after panel, talking everything that has been announced and some of the stuff that is going to be happening there, of course. But predictions, Star Wars predictions for D23. Now,
So, you want to know what I was thinking in my head when Snell suggested this? When I said we don't have a lot of news, let's just put XYZ up as like a Patreon example kind of thing.
yeah.
Um, and he was like, "We'll do D23 predictions. You can make a full episode out of that." And I was like, "My predictions are nothing happens because if I predict anything, then I'm going to be sorely disappointed because that
And
always happens."
I totally agree with you in some capacity because we kind of got like completely, spat on Disney Plus Day last year.
Yeah, because I
It
think we did predictions last year for Disney
Oh
Plus
yeah.
Day, and then
Yeah.
nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I accept to be disappointed because then if something good happens, I won't be disappointed.
So I have in front of me is the D23 poster for 2022. It is, of course, the Disney castle with a whole bunch of different things uh, across it. And I will actually share it here on our screen so we know exactly what I am talking about. So uh, there's a lot going on here, but there is Star Wars references in this page. And of course, people are going to immediately assume, oh, that must mean that there is Star Wars announcements for D23. And we hope so. We definitely hope so.
There was a trailer for Disney Plus Day last year that had Star Wars all over it, and nothing. So again, I hate to be that person, but it just makes me feel better to not
As
expect me.
SBub's coming in with the hopefully the deep in depression video won't be used this weekend. Chris loves it when I put that in chat. So hopefully not. Hopefully we won't have to see it. But the Star Wars references in this poster, there is of course Boba Fett's. What is the new name of his ship? I can't remember it off the top of my
They
head.
haven't given it a
I thought they switched out. It was the Slave One, but then they changed it to something else, correct?
no, no, and this is what we got in the argument with Nathan about was that they had taken the reference to the name of the ship off of toys and everything, and that they were just calling it
Ah.
whatever the model of the ship is.
Okay. Cool.
Um,
So there's Boba Fett's ship. There
Fire spray.
is
They were calling it fire spray because that's the
fire
model of the ship.
spray. Yes. The fire spray is there. Then there is the Tatooine. Uh, no, sorry, not Tatooine. Uh,
Nubian
yes,
space thingy.
space fighter. Then there is, of course, Grogu. Um, Anything else Star Wars related here? I'm trying to see. I believe there is
The symbol in the bottom right, that is
yes.
supposedly Ahsoka to some people.
Okay. Don't know how.
You also
Uh,
have the the Death Star thingy
there's the Death Star.
below what's it called?
I don't see the Death Star.
The No, so look at the right of the castle. Yeah, right there.
Is that the Death Star?
What is that?
I don't think that's the Death Star. I don't know what that is.
Well, it might not be like the Death Star, but what is the remote that shoots at
Oh,
Jedi
yes.
people?
The training droid. that Luke Skywalker uses in A New Hope. That's referenced
Mhm.
back in Rise of Skywalker. Yes.
Yes, and
Um.
you also have the X-wing to the right
Yes.
there.
Yes. Yes. I was just about to
So,
name that.
but you also have things like Mulan on here, and we know we're not getting any new, like nothing Mulan related has come out. She's on the bottom right uh tower, I guess, of the castle.
And you're
So,
right. You're right. You're right. There is a lot of references here. Like everybody, if anybody is a fan of the Kingdom Hearts series, there is a Keyblade, the Kingdom Key hidden right here, and every single time that Kingdom Hearts is referenced on these posters for however many posters they've put out, nothing has come out of D23 Kingdom Hearts wise. So like we understand that just because it's referenced on the poster, there may not be an announcement for it, but here's to hoping. Now,
yes. So, you could go with the X-Wing being like Rangers of the New Republic. They've revamped that. Um they want the guy who's going to play Uncle Iroh in the Avatar series on Netflix. You could pull him in for like shorts or whatever because we know, or we think at least we know, because it was in the trailer that we weren't supposed to see that we did see, um, that he's returning. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the guy who was flying with Dave Filoni
yes,
in
yes, yes.
season 2. Okay. So that could be Rangers of the New Republic. It could be something Luke Skywalker related. Um, so there's that. The remote slash Death Star thing could be an indication of we're gonna get um a series for Luke Skywalker. Trapper Wolf solo series. I mean, the dude's kind of full of himself, so I could see it.
Now,
Um,
I
Grogu is
think
obviously Mando.
yeah,
I don't know.
Mando. Boba Fett is season 2, the supposed season 2. Um, and you're right. There is like a you could pick out like certain things in this poster that can definitely correlate to different things. But if it's not, I think it might be a safe bet to say that there's going to be a Boba Fett season 2. I think that's safe to say. As like out there as it
Yes.
still kind of is, I think that there could still be a Boba Fett season 2, and I'm gonna put it out there. I think we will see more of Tales of the Jedi.
I think so as well. I think you bring in like more story group people to really articulate what's going on with it. Now, it would be weird to see Tales of the Jedi season 2. I Joe. It would be weird to see a uh season 2 of Tales of the Jedi before actually seeing something Tales of the Jedi related. The remote could also be a Tales of the Jedi reference, and we're gonna finally get a release date. Bad Batch, same thing, release date. Like those are some things that I'm expecting to hear because otherwise, what are we waiting for? So,
There has been conversation in the Geekverse Discord, excuse me, about this whole thing. That's another news topic that we kind of skipped over. Um, Respawn is making another video game of Star Wars, and it's kind of popping off over the Discord. People are saying, maybe it won't happen, maybe it will, and I think, as far as predictions go, we might get some video game news. Now, of course, we won't get Knights of the Old Republic just because they're just got switched to a different development team. That's kind of a big mess, and we'll wait to see how that all, glosses over later next year, probably. But I think there's a possibility of at least an announcement of something, whether that be a cinematic trailer or just a title reveal for something in the works.
you're right. We do have like a solo games conference, and now is the games one being shown? Because the games one is Friday.
I think it is. So everything via um like Marvel and in animation and all of this stuff. I believe from what we had seen and heard uh late last week and early this week is saying that none of it will be live streamed. But I do believe some of the game stuff, because it is a showcase, I think that that will be live streamed somewhere. Where, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? And like with D23, like I would imagine hopefully we would see a Mando trailer. But now you think about it, and I've said this 1,000 times, and I'm gonna say it again. We don't typically get trailers for these Star Wars shows until about 2 months beforehand. So you're probably going to see another solo footage for D23 only. Instead of putting stuff out, you're probably going to see more Ahsoka footage. You're probably going to see Mando season 3 footage.
As Pubs is saying, pretty much anything that could have exclusive footage won't be live. So it's kind of hard to say on if they will showcase video games, because maybe that will be like, hey, just for those who have attended D23, here's something we got for you guys, and they show the clip or whatever. Um,
Yeah. And that just, it really sucks because I think COVID made a great impression on the fact that we need to be a little more open about sharing things with people because these conferences only have a limited amount of people going. And while yes, it's really nice to be able to go to those, most of D23 is going to be for press and people who are there to report on it. And now you're limiting the fans who can't go because press is so much invited.
yeah,
So
but that's what gets you clicked onto their page. Hey, we got to see it, so come to our page and come read about everything that happened at D23.
I know, I know. Obviously, y'all, we have no one there. My personal site, Full Circle Cinema, doesn't have anyone there this weekend. However, the Disney Insider, which is run by Skylar Schuler, will have people there, and so he and his crew will be reporting on it pretty much all weekend. And he's a great guy. So if you haven't checked the site out, he's really reliable. He doesn't run things unless he thinks it's possible. So um thedisinsider.com. Make sure to go check them out because that's who I will be using to keep up with things because I have a hair appointment Saturday that I can't reschedule. So
I I get the emails for D23, and I really did not know what D23 was until about 2019, 2020. Um so I would love to go. Of course, way too late now. But that's the dream, right? Is for all of us at the Geek Old One Alliance Network to be able to go to these different shows, which correlate to each one of our podcasts. That would be awesome. Uh,
yeah, and
but
I think because Disney's being a lot more open, like Andor has had press conference or like roundtable discussions with podcasts all on their own. There was no like bigger media there. Sky Talkers was invited, Star Wars Explained. Um, there was a couple other people. I think Pink Milk was on there as well. So
yes,
they're being a lot more open and considerate of uh podcast people. So if you like what we do here, make sure to let us know in the survey and tell all your friends.
yes, yes, for sure. Which reminds me, also rate and review the podcast. Now,
Yes, please.
let's go ahead and jump into this review for Solo, a Star Wars story.
AKA the best movie ever.
Make Solo 2 happen. Hashtag make Solo 2 happen. Um, I saw your tweet. I saw it. I saw it. So I wanted to bring up really quick right at the beginning of this because I did not remember this. Thinking back when I saw this movie in theaters, this does not have your traditional Star Wars crawl.
Rogue One
Instead,
doesn't have a crawl, but they wanted to put in a crawl, but they were told not to put in a crawl, so they did a crawl, but in their own special way.
yes, in their own special way. This movie, however, takes the font of the A Long Time Ago in a Galaxy Far, Far Away and kind of sets everything up for you on where you are time wise in this universe and like sets you up for where these characters are. Um that's a very interesting choice. I liked it, but it felt weird, you know?
Why do you say that?
Well, because reading it, I was like, of course, this could be a lot easier to read if it was just a crawl. And because it's Star Wars, and yes, you are right, Rogue One did not have a crawl, the traditional crawl. Um, but I just felt like I think even the transition, because immediately after that, the screen is black, and the only thing you see is the spark from Han hot wiring a speeder. Um,
Yeah.
and I still think you could have had that transition with the crawl being in space. You see all the stars, and all of a sudden you don't see any stars, and then bam, the spark happens. I think that would have worked great, but they just didn't do it. And of course, I think it might have been Lucasfilm themselves that said, "Hey, you can't put a crawl in this movie."
Yeah. I don't know if Lucas would have said that, but Kathleen Kennedy was the one because I actually found I found my original review I did of this movie. So I've got that pulled up, and I have in here the exact same thing you basically just. There is a slight pet peeve I have with this movie. There's a crawl, but it's not a crawl.
Yeah,
um. So to me, these types of films are the ones that set up your background for the Skywalker saga. And now I know it wasn't really intended to be at that point, these Star Wars story ones. But when you're picking these characters that are coming from the Skywalker saga, I think you shouldn't you shouldn't need a ton of background to really tell us what's going on and who the characters are, because this is supposed to be your background. This is supposed to be your crawl for who Han Solo is in the original trilogy. You shouldn't have needed that. So yes, I agree with you there.
yeah. But of course, we get to see Han, we get to see Kira, we get to see where they are here and how they are kind of uh they're working for oh shoot, what is her name? I
Lady
had it and
Proxima.
Proxima, yes. I was like, I know it starts with a P. Proxima. And I love this scene. I absolutely love this scene because it's exactly who Han is. He is gonna be the guy that gambles. And he's no matter what, he's gonna hope that nobody calls his bluff. And it happens several times in this movie. And I absolutely love it because I think it pays off every single time. Uh Specifically here, the bluff is the thermal detonator. The clicking of the mouth, really convincing everybody that this rock that he has in his hand is a thermal detonator. Um, this kind of again shows the humor slash non-humor that Star Wars has, and I think it does play very well in this movie.
I think so too. I think Ron Howard did a great job coming in to try and help everything recover. From I know, and Lord Miller, I think is who the original
Yes.
directors were on this. Um, Lord and Miller are great. They've put out some really good stuff. But I think Ron Howard made a good decision in some of the choices that he made for the film. Um, so yeah, that's my opinion. Sticking to it. This movie suffers from the drama that went on behind the scenes and the fact that Lucasfilm wouldn't just go, "Oh yes, you can move it from May to December," because everybody had kind of depended on Star Wars to give you that year in advance trailer. And this movie came out, I think it was May, like the first weekend in May. And they had the first trailer for it shown at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that's terrible marketing, I think, to me. Like, this should have been getting a lot more. All of the posters and stuff that came out afterwards were really well done, I thought. It's just they got started marketing it too late. Everyone was like, eh, clearly I don't need to see it if they don't care enough to show me more about it. Um, Now, did you recognize uh Lady Proxima actually makes an appearance in Midnight Horizon?
Yes. Yes. Uh, we talked about that very shortly in our review, and that's
Mm.
why I was like, I know who this person is. I should know who this person is. Especially when the glass shatters and her skin starts to
Yep.
boil or whatever. Really, really cool. And I want to talk really briefly on the oh well, Joe says right here should have been a DC December movie. Not sorry, not DC. Should have been a December movie. Lucasfilm totally screwed that up. And I will agree. Now, I had been hearing from fellow Star Wars nerd of mine that was working with me at the comic shop that I was working at, and they knew all about the drama that had happened in the making of this film. I did not. So
Mhm.
I am still really curious on what type of movie this would have been with Lord and Miller. Just because I know that Lord and Miller, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't they the two that made Into the Spider Verse? Weren't they also the ones that were supposed to make the Flash movie? Like, as far as their creative differences, I think this movie would have been a little bit more funny than it currently is. But mind you, there's a lot of comedy in this. There is a lot of, again, those moments with Han calling those bluffs and trying to make bluffs of his own that really don't work out. It's all of his, luck that he does not have in this movie. Um, but when there's dark moments, there's really dark moments in this movie, which I absolutely love. Uh, but yeah, just really
Yeah, I
curious
think
on what kind of story this would have been if Lord and Miller made it.
I wonder. Yeah, Joe's right. They also made the Lego movie, which is really well received. I For me with Lord and Miller, I wonder if they were making too much fun of Han. Um and everyone knows Han is like the big badass who takes charge of everything, but also like steps back. He's the cool, suave guy. He's the
Yeah.
person a lot of people fell in love with in Star Wars instead of like um Luke and everybody. So I wonder if it was that, is that their interpretation of Han, of a younger Han, was too far off the mark for Kathleen Kennedy, and they didn't want to change that. Which I don't know how you don't get that in the script, because I feel like all of that could have been prevented in script developments. And I know
Yeah.
things happen, some things change, but that script tells you a lot about how they intend to go about the story. Um, so yeah, I like what Ron Howard did with it. I really like some of my the last half of the movie, I was just giddy with excitement. Like I love like when we get to Kessel and after. Like it's just
I will
great.
say, after Kessel, when they are actually dealing with the like coaxium and like, you know, doing all of that, the betrayal and everything else at the very end of the movie. And I guess we'll kind of jump all over the place. But I will say that last 45 minutes does feel like a completely different movie compared to what the rest of the movie is. Do you get that
And I
feeling at
think
all?
like I do, but it's like the Rise of Skywalker for me. Like the first 45 minutes you feel are a lot of exposition, maybe a little rushed. But then you get after that, and it's just such a great movie afterwards that you're just like, you can just completely let that part aside. Um, I do hate the heist on Vandor. Um, because I didn't think Val needed to die at that point. I think she is such a great character, and there's too few prominent female smugglers, and that could have gone a whole another way. So that's probably my least favorite part of the movie is that. Um, but I can agree with you, but I also I don't care. Like the Kessel Run is just so good, and like you always hear Han go, "Oh, I made the Kessel Run in under 12 parsecs," and then you hear Chewie go, "Ooh," and he's like, "Ah, if you round down."
If you round down.
But then he goes around telling people, "Oh, under 12 parsecs," because you hear and tell people, "Oh, 12 parsecs. I just made it 12 parsecs." I
Yeah.
was like, I
Now,
can't. I,
I again gushing through all of this movie, we get fairly quickly, um, of course, introduced to newer characters that fans wouldn't necessarily be familiar with for the fact that, Beckett and his crew. Um,
Mhm.
but they decide to kill off his crew very quickly in this
Yeah.
movie, which I kind of find a bit of a bummer. Um,
And that's what I was saying with Val. Like, I don't like Rio is good, and I like how John Favreau voices him.
yes.
He comes across very quirky, does a lot of good work with the character in a very short amount of time. But Val's the one that makes my heart break because I want like when we get to the betrayal at the end, with Beckett, like I really want to see her reaction to it. Like, what would you have done, Val, if this had happened? Like, would you have allowed him to betray the crew, or would she have stuck to, we can deal with Dryden, no problem.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because we know that Val and Beckett are a thing. And, you know, Beckett is very much hurt when Val decides, hey, you're going to have to go on without me. And basically commits suicide with the detonator.
Yep,
But like he keeps on making these comments to Han. Nobody, like people aren't the way they seem. People change. You know, giving them all these different things to say, "Hey, you can't trust Kira," and that is a question. If Val were to survive, would their relationship survive? And
yep.
it's very very interesting. I really do like that. Excuse me. I really do like that question. Um, But I saw you on Twitter yesterday when you viewed this, making some comments about another character that is technically introduced to this series, being uh, Donald Glover's Lando. So
Man, he is so good. Like,
I forgot
he
how
is so good.
spot on his speech is compared to oh shit, I forgot
Billy D. Williams.
Billy D. Williams. Yeah. The mannerisms that he has in his tone and voice, I really really enjoyed his performance.
He is so good. And before I forget, Joe said he thinks Val would have backed Beckett. Um,
I think that she would have, just because of the idea of the score, the idea of finally getting out. Like, I think all of that would have really appealed to their future lifestyle for sure.
yeah, I don't know. I I don't know if I don't know if Beckett would ever have truly gotten out. That's the thing. And I think Val, looking at that comparison where Emphas Nest is like, you can join us or like we can help you get away. And I think Val would have looked at that and gone, this may be the chance that we have to just get a clean slate and actually make a life. And Beckett not going with that, I think she would have been blown off.
Now, you just Infus Nest, you just mentioned her, so I'm going to bring her up. There's one thing that really bothers me about this character. So, in the
Okay.
very beginning, when they're at the train heist, when they're about to get the coaxium, she goes head to head with Beckett. She goes head to head with Woody Harrelson. At that moment, they are the same height. They are clearly the same height. I double checked it when they're duking it out on top of the
On the
train.
train?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then at the very end of the movie, when she basically corners them, and as soon as she takes off the helmet, she is immensely shorter than him. And I'm just like, that
So
really,
that
like,
helmet probably gives her 4 inches. And then Joe's right, boots and a tall
boots and a
mask.
tall mask. It just bothered me how much I noticed that this helmet just immediately after taking it off, like, because the movie magic that makes The Rock and Vin Diesel the same height, when we clearly know there is like 4 feet between the two of those men. But with her, with what is the actress's name, Erin Kellyman, and Woody Harrelson, she takes off the helmet and then walks past him, and she is so much shorter. And I was just like, oh, you could have just used a little bit of movie magic, just a little bit, to like kind of keep up the ruse at least. But I don't know. It kind of bothered me a little bit. But going back to Lando, if or do you have something to say about Infus Nest?
I think Aaron's great in the character role. Um, I think Lucasfilm has really missed out on an opportunity to bring her back into the fold and find a way to envelop her in the story. I would really want them to enrobe the Cloud Raiders, because that's what they're called, the Cloud Raiders. I would really want them to try and include them somehow in Andor. I think
I
if
was
you
I was
can
about to say
tie something up.
either Andor or Kenobi season 2. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Crossing my fingers here. Um but yeah, I think there's a lot to that character and to the group. Um because even the idea when they all take off their masks at the very end, with the whole like, oh, each and every one of these individuals has had their home world completely wiped out or destroyed by Crimson Dawn. And you're just like, oh, okay. Well, how did they all get together? How does this function work? I think it would be really cool to see the intertwining of that, for sure.
Yeah. I think so as well. You could do a lot with that. Very similar, honestly, to Falcon and Winter Soldier, because Aaron's the same character in both movies, pretty much. So,
Oh, wow. I did not see that.
I said both movies. She's the same character in the movie and the show.
And the TV show. But you're not wrong. Now that I think about it, you're not wrong at all. Um, oh, that is hilarious. Yeah. Wow. Um,
So
but
Lando.
yes, Lando. I love how he's introduced. I love how like immediately Han feels like he has to like square up to him. Like oh, so you think you're the best at this? Well, I'm a pilot too, and blah 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 blah. Because he is getting really familiar with Kira, and they know each other.
And and that makes you look back at their meeting in Empire Strikes Back, and you go, "Oh, Lando's done this before, where he schmoozes the lady."
um and that's what I think I love about watching these movies again, is because I can take into account the books that I have read, the comics that I've read and the movies that we've seen throughout here and really look at these characters deeper than probably a lot of people kind of just gloss over. I don't know if you heard that. I accidentally hit my mic. But I really enjoyed all of that. And of course, with Lando comes the greatest character of this entire movie. She has won my heart.
L3.
L3 is quite possibly my favorite droid. I don't know why, but just like her attitude, the way that she just like has like a fuck you, I don't care attitude with everything that happens in this entire movie. It's great.
I love her girl talk conversation with Kira. It was like, don't worry, it's just us. And then Kira's like, how would that work? It works.
He is clearly in love with you. He is not love with you. Yeah, sure. Yeah, huh? Yeah. But like even when she is like when they are liberating the other droids, she just like knocks off the inhibitor and she's like, now go be free. Free all your other friends. I have like and that's when we see Lando having the Calrissian Chronicles,
Yeah.
which is great. I absolutely love that part. I think it is very much in character of him to kind of leave a monologue of every adventure that he's been on.
Which would be a great reason to have a Lando show entitled The Calrissian Chronicles, where Donald Glover does the things, and then you have Billy D. Williams narrate it. Just saying.
Or opposite, you can have Donald Glover be the Lando throughout the series with Billy D. Williams being the one that narrates everything because I think that would be fun too.
That's what I just said.
No, you said
Donald
Glover.
Glover is the Lando we see, and then Billy D. Williams is narrating everything.
No, when you said it the first time, you
That didn't
said
come off how I said it. Brain, no worky. That's what I meant, was because obviously Billy D. Williams is very old and stuff.
yes,
No,
yes.
I've been flipping stuff all day. It's not even funny at this point. And it's like, yeah, Billy D. Williams being old and stuff. Use him while you can with him being the narrator. It's very easy for him to do, and you could still have some where he's sitting in the chair editing it and going, "I'm about to send this off to my autobiographer. He's going to write it all down for me." Or whatever. I don't know. You could just show it, like, and then Donald Glover does everything else. So
It
I
would
think it
be
would work.
great, and it's very confusing as if that's ever gonna move forward because, like, Donald Glover has said that he wants to work on stuff personally on some of his other projects. I know that, I think his last season of Georgia is it wait, hold on. Is it or did I hear it wrong? I'm totally sorry if I heard it wrong. Genuinely, Joe is saying Katie said it right, but because a man said it, now it will be heard. That's not what I meant. I am pretty sure I heard it the wrong way, and so I flipped it.
He will
That's
put an
not
apology
my.
in the show notes
I will.
when he edits and is gonna figure it out.
Oh Jesus. Okay. Okay. Anyway, Don Glover was saying, I believe we watched the clip a few months ago of him on the Jimmy Fallon show saying that he has been wanting to do his own thing still and he's been wanting to get back into music. I think his last season of, like I said, Georgia is uh
Atlanta.
Atlanta, sorry, not Georgia. Jesus.
Mhm.
Atlanta is airing now. I
Yes.
don't know if that is a show that drops every single week or if it's like a binge show. I don't know.
I
Um,
think it's a Showtime show, so it drops every week. But we do know that's the last season there, and I know Kathleen Kennedy had said he's gonna go work on Atlanta first. Um, so it could be a culmination of things. Um, and I know Glover would probably want to be involved in the writing process for whatever comes out of it. So
Yes, because I've heard great things about Atlanta, and I know that he is very much involved in almost everything with that. Um, but I enjoyed this entire thing. Um, even when he the moments that he has with L3, with when she is completely destroyed and shot up, he runs in there and grabs her, and you really see the companionship between the two in those moments where he is like scrambling on what to do to save her. Um and
and
thank
if people
thank
want to make it weird, people want to make it weird with like the whole he's in love with the droid thing. I've got some shows that you can watch about some human beings in love with some sex dolls. So, saying.
like
Made for Love, HBO Max being one of them.
oh, that's right. What was the other? What was? Wait, Made for Love. Is that the?
The one where they both have a chip in their head and can see what each other's doing.
Oh no, what's the Anna Kendrick one? Hey, there's Taylor. Make Solo 2 happen. Yes, yes, for sure. And that's one of the questions that I want to wrap up the episode with, as far as our review. But we'll keep going because there's plenty of characters we haven't talked about. Um, my thing is with Han, I think that it was very quick thinking. Hey, and I love the subtle hints of things that really connect together with the whole thing with L3 having the navigation system in her, and
Yep.
Han thinking quickly, hey, if we connect her to the Falcon, then we can get our asses out of
We can
here.
survive.
Exactly. And that whole thing with
And
the Maw and
just
Kessel was great.
yes, I love that. Um, there is an L3 story in From a Certain Point of View Strikes Back. Yes, I know I keep talking about it, but that is another one that like gets you in your feels because it's like where the stormtroopers are all coming on board, and then they get back on the ship, and L3 is trying to communicate to them and go, "Hey, hyperdrive's offline," but R2 um is not there, or is doing something. Oh, he's connecting, he's putting 3PO back together and won't connect, and R2 is the only one who can communicate with L3 and the other two droids that are in there in the neural interface. So, but yeah, she's so involved. She's like looking at security cameras and going, "Hey, wait a second! Like, don't do this!" And I think she even gets a warning off before like the Falcon shut down when the stormtroopers come on board, and gets it into the Cloud City computers because she saw Lando and knows Lando's there. So I think, but yeah,
That that is kind of heartbreaking, like knowing that it's
yes,
from her point of view in the Falcon. Um, I love that. Um, I would even want to see more of her. She is voiced by Phoebe Waller
Phoebe
Bridge,
Waller-Bridge.
and I have not seen anything with her in it. I don't think. But listening to L3 and just like all of the sass that she has, I really want.
Mm-hmm.
I know that she has an Amazon show. Uh,
Miss
uh,
Maisel, I think.
no, no, not Miss Maisel. It's is it an Amazon show? Maybe it's not an Amazon show. What is it? Um,
Well, she's
uh,
going to be in Indiana Jones 5.
yes,
Um, She was
Fleabag.
in No Time. Oh no, she was not in No Time to Die. She was a co-screenwriter on No Time to Die. Um,
Fleabag is an Amazon Prime show.
Fleabag.
Yeah, that's the one that I always hear about. I have not seen it, but I know apparently she does like some fourth wall breaking in there a lot too. Um, but it may be on the list of things for me to watch. Could be on Patreon for the first time. Um, but yeah, the okay. So I know this had a lot of criticism when the movie came out, but I want your opinion on it. The the meeting of Solo and Chewbacca, Chewie and Han. How do you feel about it? Like,
I think it's great. It makes a lot of sense. Um, I like that they kind of moved away from the whole life debt thing. That Legends had kind of picked up with it. Because I think in Legends it was like they met on the Death Star and Han bonded with him and Chewie got him off and then the whole life debt thing happened. So I'm glad they moved away from that because even though that is a thing in cultures, it's like Chewie saved him how many times now, and we're still gonna go with he owes him a life debt.
Yeah.
Um, so that made me happy to kind of move away from that. And honestly, I mean, that's what the Empire did was they treated aliens like beasts, and that's what they treated Chewbacca as. And it made complete sense to me. And Han in Legends was raised by a Wookiee, so that's how he knows. Um, and so I'm assuming at least they carried that over, and that's why he knows some Shriwook and is able to communicate with Han. So
Now
I don't hate
I
the
saw
scene.
a lot
I
of
laughed my ass
criticism.
off with the shower scene where Han's like,
You don't think we could have
you
done
couldn't have
this
waited."
one by one or something? Um, no, but I remember back in the day there was a lot of criticism over Han speaking Shriwook. Um, it only makes sense. Like, now I totally understand. Take for instance Spanish. For me, I can't
Okay.
I can speak maybe a few random words of Spanish, but I can understand every other word of Spanish
Yep.
when it is spoken to me. So I could understand if they were to do something like that with Han, but they made it to where he was fluent in Shriwook and could understand it, which is not a problem to me. I think that it made a lot of sense. And even to the point of like planning it out, hey, we can have this escape here. If you just help me out here, let's do this. Um,
The whole Shriwook thing, like him actually speaking it, and there's proof previously that humans have been able to speak Shriwook, and honestly, I mean, it's very similar to Ron speaking Parcel Tongue in Harry Potter. Sorry if that reference makes anybody mad, but like that's the only thing I can come up with. But like him speaking Parcel Tongue, he's not fluent in Parcel Tongue. Harry is fluent in Parcel Tongue. But all you have to do is it's probably the same thing. I know it's not like, but like if you like growl and like yell, who knows what you could say? You could be saying "fuck Chewy." I don't know. So it didn't bug me.
it
Um,
didn't bug me at all. I like I said, I really enjoyed it. Kira. And again, we have gotten a little bit more of her character now that Crimson Dawn, War of the Bounty Hunters, all of these different comics have come out. And now Hidden Empire is coming out, or if not, has already come out with its first issue. I can't remember. Um, but this character, I I had not seen Game of Thrones at the time. So her as a new character to me when watching this film for the first time, I was like, okay, I know that she's in Game of Thrones, but I haven't seen any of those performances. Her performance here, I really enjoyed it. Now, I wish there was a little bit more for her character to do because one of her only badass moments outside of the final fight was clearly done by like either a stunt double or whatever, but like it's behind a closed door and all you see is her cape like swoosh twice. And then
mhm.
the next thing you know, her and L3 are talking, "Oh, I've never seen anybody do that before. What is that called?" And she's cleaning off her dagger or whatever. Um, we see her really being a badass in the comics, but I really do wish there was a little bit more she could have done in this movie.
Yeah, I can kind of agree. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Amelia Clark actually suffered two brain aneurysms, one in 2011 and one in 2013. And so, being as someone who has not had aneurysms but has a neurological condition.
Mm-hmm.
She really speaks a lot to me, and I'm glad she was able to recover. Like she's spoken about her symptoms and everything, regaining her memory. But also the really long days she had on Game of Thrones because she didn't lose her job because she was still recovering from surgery. I think she was back in production on Game of Thrones 2 weeks later after she had surgery for the
Yeah.
aneurysm. So she is an incredibly strong woman to recover what she's done. And I think she does a really good job in this. I wish we had seen more, like you said. Um, and I still think there's a lot of good that could come out of having Clark return to the role somewhere else. Being a bad guy in Book of Boba Fett. I don't know. Like,
Well, not only
working at the
that,
crime world.
because one of my final questions here is this it? Even with Donald Glover, I'm going to ask, is this it for this cast? Do we see them again? Because we have that nugget at the very end of the movie. It's not like it is clearly like in the last 15 minutes of the movie with Kira getting the ring, calling Darth Maul, and he says, "Oh, we're going to be working very closely, you and I." And knowing the timeline, this is taking place technically right before or at the same time as Kenobi season 1.
Yes.
And we know that come time of Rebels, Darth Maul is no more. Like at the end of Rebels, because that's when Obi-Wan just bam kills him. So there is time in between there to really do something with the Darth Maul character, with Kira, with Crimson Dawn. I would really love to see something in that timeline rather than seeing an older Kira in the Book of Boba Fett. Because yes, you could still have Emilia Clarke as that character, but I do think that you would need to do like heavy prosthetic makeup and make her look older. I would really like to see her still in her prime.
She's 35 now, so you can do a little bit of like makeup to make her look the look older. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit earlier, Joe. It was War of the Bounty Hunters and Crimson Dawn, and then Hidden Empire first issue will be in November.
Yes.
Um, so that will conclude her trilogy. They don't show like they show her saying, "Oh, I worked with Maul. He told me about the Sith. This is how I was able to hold my own against Darth Vader." Um, so we get stuff like that. We don't ever actually like see her work physically with Maul in that sense. So that could be a very good exploration. Pulling Sam Witwer to be Maul. I don't know.
Yes.
So and especially with what we heard before the Ray Park incident about Maul returning to screens in multiple ways, it's it's a very good possibility. Um, I think we'll see Glover eventually as Lando because I think he really enjoyed the role and wanted to come back, which is the only reason you got the announcement about a Lando show. I don't think they would have gone, "Hey, we're gonna announce this, and if Glover doesn't come back, then we'll just pick somebody else." Um, and Glover comes back to everything unless he's told no. So I think it's fully possible. Um, I don't know if we'll ever see Alden as Han again, as much as I want it, as much as I want him to have a clean production and be able to kind of show what he's worth instead of having to battle back and forth with a lot of creative issues with the behind the scenes team. Because I think once you get past the like the oh, your last name's Solo. I think once you get past that, he does pretty well as Han.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever going to be Harrison Ford, and I think people just have to accept that.
Except for
Because
Harrison Ford, de-aged. You know?
no, please stop doing that, Disney. Please stop. Um, so I and I hate telling people to get over yourself, but like this is who they chose to be your young Han. And at some point, more than likely, everybody's right. They're gonna want to reboot Star Wars. I think at some point it's gonna happen. People, excuse me, people are gonna have to get over it.
It's gonna be wild. Now, do I think that it will happen in our lifetime? It might. Because you only have so much of a sandbox. When you have now, granted, they could make the sandbox bigger if they decide to go, oh, we're going to have another trilogy with Rey Skywalker. That's technically the Skywalker saga. So they can continue this whole sandbox thing again. But you have bookends now. You have episode 1 and you have episode 9. There's only so much that you can weave and weave and weave until you finally run out of thread, you know?
And that's if they choose to keep playing in this sandbox, because we've talked about it time and time again. There's plenty of years for them to explore outside of the Skywalker saga. They just choose to keep coming back to it.
And Taylor says, "Oh God, I hope not. No reboot. Do it when I'm dead." And
Joe
then
said, "No, no more
no more
Skywalkers
Skywalker
there."
saga. And that's what we've been wanting. We want them to jump away from the sandbox, create their own sandbox with the same elements of Star Wars to keep it within the Star Wars mythos. And it's something that they can very much do, but they just don't want to. So who knows? But I think that's it. Unless you have any other thoughts on Solo, any last thoughts or anything? No?
I love this movie. It's still at the. I haven't redone my letterbox list, but it's at the top. This is something I can always come back to when I want to watch Star Wars and not have to watch a whole lot of Star Wars. It's probably, quite honestly, my most watched film from Star Wars is this film. I love it
Wow.
so much. I have a ton of fun. I love seeing the Kessel Run in action. Um, because and again I relate this back to wanting to be a pilot for years, and the fact that I always saw myself as the Han except in the planes of today's world. um so I love it so much. It's just so good. Any
Now,
final thoughts from you?
yeah, I will say I never would have thought Woody Harrelson could make it in the Star Wars universe. Beckett is quite possibly one of my favorite characters in here. Um, because there's a lot to learn from his character that Solo does learn. Like you see it throughout the movie. He has his own charm, but as he goes through the movie, he's taking a lot from what Beckett was. And I think
Hmm.
that is who he is come time A New Hope happens. He is very much the Beckett character. Um, I really enjoy that. Um, like I said, I really enjoy L3 and Lando. Um, and it is a real big disappointment to hear what Kathleen Kennedy said that, oh, it's clear that we can never do this again in regards to these
Hmm.
castings. But I really hope there is some sort of change of heart, considering, like I said, there's only so much you can do when it comes to the uh the de-aging. We've
Yep.
always seen that Harrison Ford never wants to come back to this franchise. Is he really going to sign off on taking his likeness into
What
a
are you gonna do when
3D
Mark Hamill
visual?
dies?
Like it's very, very interesting on how all of this is going to unfold, but we look forward to seeing that future, and we look forward to D23 later this week. There will be a special episode on the Geek First podcast, so make sure that you are subscribed to them as well. We will be a part of it, and we will see you guys next week. Well, you know what? I'm not usually the one that closes us out. Katie, you do your normal thing. I can't just not let you do it. Do your normal thing. Well, we
You
have to
can
do
find,
our plugs. Yeah, yeah. I'm so
yeah,
dumb. Whew.
he's just as tired as me, y'all, apparently.
I am. Well, you know what? Let me go ahead and do my plugs first. Of course, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay. Go on Twitter. The link tree is there. All the shows that I host are there. DC, Batman News Weekly, Ranger Alliance, and of course, right here, Star Wars Alliance.
Y'all, you can find this show on Twitter. It's at Star Wars Alliance without the A in the war. It's very important. Don't forget it. My other show, whenever I finally get back in there, is at Slice of Film 1 on Twitter. Next week, we will be talking about the I think it's Guillermo del Toro's adaptation of Pinocchio, live action Pinocchio, which is available on Disney Plus, I think tomorrow,
Whoa, wait.
because Disney
You
Plus
got him
started.
confused. You got him confused. So Guillermo del Toro is on Netflix, and then the Pinocchio on Disney Plus Day is coming out on Disney Plus Day. There's two.
There's two?
Yes.
Wait,
Did you not know this?
no.
There's two Pinocchio movies. I don't know when the Guillermo del Toro one is going to be releasing, but I do know that the Disney Plus one is coming out on Disney Plus Day.
What? Oh my gosh. Shit.
So you may want to go back into the slice of film chat and make sure everybody knows exactly what movie y'all are going to be.
No, I think Mark knows we're on the same page because we know that it's the Disney Plus. I just didn't realize that there was a Guillermo del Toro and then the Disney Plus one. So who did the Robert Zemeckis? Interesting.
Zemeckis, yeah,
Okay. Zemeckis. Is that how you say that?
I think so.
Oh, he did The Witches. Great. I hated that movie. Anyways, um, so yes, we're doing the Zemeckis Pinocchio slice of film on Monday, so you can check it out then. Um, Zemeckis directed Back to the Future Part 2 and 3? Sorry,
Yes,
squirrel. Anyways, I didn't know that. He also directed Polar Express and Forrest Gump.
which is
I don't know.
why he's working with Tom Hanks again with Pinocchio.
Oh yeah, Tom Hanks is the
Is Geppetto.
Geppetto. Okay, before I get more distracted, because I'm like reading the cast list now, and I'm like, oh, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Okay, um, so Pinocchio on Disney Plus. It's on there this weekend, and we will be talking about that on Monday. And then Star Wars Alliance, we will be talking about Beth Revis's Rebel Rising next week, which is just another precursor of Andor. I'm in the middle of it right now. And I'm not gonna say too much about it, but it's more definitely about Jin and Saw kind of being raised together and kind of figuring out the plots to the rebellion in that direction. So if you're interested in reading along with us, pick it up now and listen to it because it's about 8 hours. So you could have it done by next week. And then we will be talking. Of course, we're going to talk about everything with Geekverse after the panel on Saturday. But we'll have our own personal reactions, just kind of talk more about it here on Star Wars Alliance in case you can't check out that episode that I highly encourage you to do so. I am on Twitter and Instagram. It's at Slice of Katie. And I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you are listening or watching. And we will see y'all next time. May the force be with you.
See ya.